So hello students. um, so let's continue our demo on this particular assignment. In today's assignment we are going to focus on microservices. We will focus on we'll look at some design diagrams, and we'll look at we'll see at what was the error that was caused last time when we ended our last demo. The accounts website was not working. It was because there was some error in the constructor. That's what it said. So let me show you what was the problem. The constructor is the function which is always called when the object is created, right? So the constructor of this particular class was causing the problem of DB-SQL. It was not causing me the problem earlier, but it suddenly started causing me the problem once I started sending the input parameter, which is database ID. The problem was this line had a code something like this: public void DB-SQL, and there was no input parameter initially, so it was looking like this, and this line was throwing error because so it was not throwing the error earlier, but the moment I put database ID, this line started throwing error. So the solution is you need to remove this void, and because it's a constructor and you don't require a void or return parameter for in this case. So a constructor is not like any other function. It is called when the object is created. So when you create the object, DB-SQL we call initialized database. So this database ID is used to initialize the database. If it is 0, then we are going to read this file dbconfig customer. If it is 1, we are going to read dbconfig_account, and if it is 2, then we're going to read money transfer. So this file basically contains the database connection information. So if you notice in my account service, so let me open. I'm going to use dbconfig_account. So it will connect to DB account database, and that has a table called T account, which has a column which have columns account name and account balance. So let us start this service and see if it works now. So my computer was working slow, and things were not working earlier for some reason. It was working very slow for some reason. Maybe something is getting installed or something, but I have restarted my computer now, so hopefully things will be faster now. So let's start the account service, and it does take time. So but it is improved a little bit, but it does take time. So my account service is running on port number 82. The reason we are running this on a different port is to simulate as if it is running on a different machine. So if when you have services running on different machine, it is an example of distributed computing. And when we use REST services or SOAP services, then it is an example of service oriented computing. So service oriented computing is still distributed computing. Okay, so let us test our website. And let us go to the home page, which is mybank.html, and let us click accounts. So we were stuck over here last time, and let's read it and see if it's working now. Yeah, so you see that I get one record, account name is Palak Data Analytics, and the balance is 1,50,000. So let us create another account. Let's say Anuradha Clouds. So create, and when as you're firing the query, if you'll notice behind I am showing you what all queries are fired. So here if you see, insert into T account, account name, account balance, values, Anuradha Cloud, and I'm defaulting the balance. I'm opening any account with a balance of 50,000. So this query was fired in the back end, and then it executed, write query executed. So so this is the way I debug in the back end. I keep looking in the front and back whether things are working fine. So now if I read, I should get those two records. So you see, I get those two records, and I can update record number 2 to Palak Data Analyticals, for example. Let's update this. Right, so in the backend there's a query fired again, update query, and let's read this. So you see the data is updated, and now if you want to delete, then we can, let's say, delete account ID 2. So when we delete, this query should be fired from backend, and we should read. So this is how the account website is working. Okay, now let's go back to the home page. Now one thing that I noticed was while I was writing this, I had in my design, I had shifted my API gateway to AngularJS. I was calling, depending if it was account page, then it would use this link to fire the query, and if it is a customer page, it would use 8081 to to connect to the service. But the thing is, when I am running on this machine, which is localhost :8082, customer is going to try to connect to 8081. So let me show you the diagram, okay, so that you understand what is happening. So where do I have? So let's where's the architecture diagram? Yeah, right. So let me, right, so, okay. So this banking website customer page is trying to connect on port number 8081 to this link, and this is running in where? It is running inside the browser as a AngularJS. Now if I am but when I am connecting to account service, I just now connected to port number 82, right, which is using this link. So till then you're using port number 82. The browser allows you to call the service from the browser. Otherwise the browser is blocking any calls that you will make to 8081 or any other port like 8083. So the way you can test it is, if you call customers and try to read, if you notice now in our case the customer service is not running. So let me first start the service, right. I'm getting some noise in the background. Okay, so let me start the customer service. In this case, this will run on So let me give a title first to this window. So title customer. Okay, so the moment you say title customer, you will see in the heading customer over here. Now I will start the service. And my service is running on port number 81. So ideally, if my service is running when I read the customer page, I should have got the records. But if you notice, no query is fired over here. You don't see any debug information, and but you see debug information for port number 82, which is this one, right? The second one is customer. So let me stop this service and show you again. So let me make the title as account, okay, so that you know that. So let me start the service again. Now Java, right? So you see I have one customer running in this window and one account running on this window. This is running on port number 8081 and account is running on port number 8082. So from 8082, if I try to call customer, it will, where is customer, it will not work. You see that, because the browser is blocking. Most likely this is a security, because of security. So what is the solution? That is something you can look into it, or you can try to answer, but according to me, this bank API gateway has to run on the server. It has to run like a REST service, just like any other service. So the security issue may go away once you push this behind the server. Right now this is running on the browser, and that's the problem. Now if you notice, if I run this on port number 8081, it should work, right? Because the website is running even there on port number 81, customer.html. And will it work? Let's see. So I give call read, and you see that you get the record. So on port number 8081, customer will work, but on port number 8082, customer won't work. But if you on port number 82, account is connecting to port number 8082, right? So let's see, account is working. Oh, what is happening? Accounts, is it? So accounts page has come, and if I try to get accounts detail on port number 82, it should work. So you see, so this is one security issue. It's not a security issue, it's a security prevention, you can say. The browser is protecting you from making cross-site references. From 882 you cannot call 881, from 881 you cannot call 882. So how does one solve such issues? I think you need to make sure you don't try, maybe you should try to connect it from the server itself, instead of trying to connect it from the browser. So that is all about customer page and accounts page. And now let's see how our events are working. So this page is basically just hiding and showing you. If you click on this, where am I? Yeah, this is going to hide and this is going to view. So if you view, it is showing me all the events that have happened, right? And it also shows me the debug information. It shows me the event query that is fired. So this is where microservices is coming into picture. So, and where is microservices? Microservices is here, right? So this microservice. Now what is happening is this is like a common object which common service, and customer, whenever there is a record created on customer REST service, the accounts database does not know about it because it is a different application. So we raise and we send an event from this to the REST service, and this event synchronizer will call, instead will make a call, will broadcast whatever event has been sent to other services. So it will broadcast it to account REST service, to money transfer REST service, and this account REST service will internally try to take that event information and do something with it. Like if it is passing the account information, it will try to probably store it inside its own database. So you can see this in action. So this is my customer page which is running on port number 881, right? And you see the last event was fired yesterday night 10:33. So now if I create a record, okay, let's say Chinmay Research Labs, and create this record. So something is happening on the customer website. If I read this information now, I will see there is a record, and if I look at customer window, there is a query been fired over here, right? There is a write query and there is a read query, and so this is what happened on this website. Now this website internally called the event REST service, and this event REST service then broadcasted the event to account, and this account then synced the event into its database. So how can we, so we confirm this by looking at my bank account events. So when we see view event log again, what happened? Oh, it's because event log is not working, I think. Yeah. So let me start my third event synchronizer service, right? Because that should also be running if things have to work. So let me start event sync. So first let me set the title so that I know which window is responsible for what. And let me start the service. Okay, so this is event synchronizer is running on port number 8084. So now if you notice, I have got 3 windows, 3 different applications working, 3 different applications, 3 different services running. The customer REST service is running here, customer account service is running here, and the event synchronizer is running over here. This is running on port number 8084, then customer is running on port number 8081, and account is running on port number 8082. So now let us repeat the same test and see whether it works. So where are we? We are in the accounts page. Alright, no, we want to go to customer page because right now I have only implemented events that are fired from the customer page. So and so what we'll do this time, we'll delete the record, and this event should be broadcasted, should be passed to the REST service, which is the event synchronizer, which will in turn broadcast it to accounts database or accounts service. So let us delete this third record and let us read. So now we have 2 queries fired. One was the delete query and one was the select query. So now let us go back to accounts system and click on view event log and see. So you see there is a record created, two records created. One, if you notice, what was the event? The event was delete from T customer where ID equal to 3. Now this event, where did it occur? It occurred on customer page, but account page or account system knows about it. And the second event that was fired was a select query in the customer page. So when I read it, a select query was fired, which when we look at the accounts page, both the events were captured. So this is how your your event synchronizer is managing all the microservices. In the real world, you may have many systems. In this case, I have 3 systems, and you can also duplicate this system any number of times. So if you have come across Netflix, right? It is a video streaming application, and if you look at their architectures, you try to study the Netflix architecture. It uses microservices, and it uses thousands and thousands of microservices. So how do we track those microservices? According to me, they are using something, lot of event synchronizers. You may not only have one synchronizer but many event synchronizer. So it is just like different cars are there on the road. There are thousands of cars which is passing through many intersections on the roads, and right at the crucial junctions, you have these signals, you have this your traffic policeman which is coordinating the traffic flow, and which is now this event synchronizer is like routing all the information, whatever needs to be passed on, and to the other services. And you may have another service which can duplicate the services. Sometimes you may, if one service may not be, let's say if 10,000 people are watching a movie, and this one desk service may not be enough to manage that network. So somebody over here at this level, there can be a service which duplicates the microservices. Now in case if one movie stops working, it does not mean all the other people who are watching the movie, even their video stops, right? It may be running on different services. So one system is independent of the other system. So though entire Netflix is one system, they are broken down into multiple microservices, which is independent systems in itself, and that makes it easier to make sure Netflix keeps streaming no matter what. So that is what how the microservices architecture works. As I said, the customer REST service is firing an event, and event synchronizer receives that event and broadcasts it and gives it to account. Then account tries to synchronize that event in its own database. So now in the same way, you need to make sure whenever there is a query fired on account, the customer system should know about it in the same way, and money transfer services also should know about it. So if anytime any event is happening on any system, the other two systems should know about it. So in case if there is a money transfer website and somebody is creating some records or doing any money transfer, that information, that event has to pass to account. And maybe in our case we just want to broadcast it to everybody, but in the real world it may not be necessary to broadcast money transfer event to customer. So that business rule you can define as per the application, but for our simplicity purpose, anytime there is an event happening on one system, the other two systems should know about it. Now if you see the customer page, events has not been there is no event there is no event data you can see, because it has not been implemented. You need to implement this. I have shown you an example, and you should use the similar example to implement and complete the rest of your rest of the functionality. So now I think we will anything that you do, you should be able to explain it in terms of design, right? So let me first show you what all objects I have created. Just like I have my bank database, and this is a common object which is used to connect to any database. I have created a common object called a TJ event client. So if you notice, what is this class contains? It is slow. Okay, this class contains some common functions. It has contains one function called sent event. So anytime anyone is firing a query, that query is passed through this data. And there is a sync event. Sync event is something which means I need to save this event. It was broadcasted by the event synchronizer, and I need to save it in my database. And the third function is broadcast event. This function basically will send the the event to all other microservices. That is the responsibility of this function. So if you notice, I am passing the parameter URI, which may point. So if I have got, let's say, 3 microservices running, and I want to broadcast it to all the 3, then I am going to call this this function 3 times, but with different URI. URI is just like a link, right? So first time I am going to call this function using port number 8081. Second time I am going to call this function using port number 8082, and third time I am going to call this function using port number 8083. So each time I pass an URI, this information is getting passed to that particular microservice. So if you notice, I am calling a REST service. So this is the code how to call the REST service. You need to create the client object, right? So we have not done this demo last year. I mean the last semester. We were able to connect to the REST service using the browser, but how do we call the REST service from the Java program? So this is how you need to create client config object. From the client config object you get client object, and from the client object you can pass the URI, and the moment you pass the URI, you get the link to that service. So if I pass port number 82 here, I am going to get a link to that service, and on that service I am calling the REST service. I am calling the post method, and in that post method I am sending this data over here, input JSON OBJ. So input JSON OBJ is nothing but my data is in. So you see this data, I am taking this data and converting into JSON object over here, because I am in my diagram I am passing all information between all the components using JSON format. So you see, that is how it. So this is a common object which I have created, my bank event client. It was not there last time, but I have introduced it here. And this object I am creating a jar file and registering in the Maven. If you look at the services and look at the POM file, I would have referenced that object inside over here. So you see, this is the object I have created. I have added the dependency. So this is nothing but your JEvent client. If you notice now, if you look at my customer service, I am going to be using so execute query is called here, right? Whenever there is so this particular post function is called, and what happens inside, you notice in the end I am event client dot send event. I am sending that event. So what does that send event do? Send event basically will inform the event synchronizer. So if you look at event client send event, what is happening over there? Right, so send event is taking the data and calling which is linking to the event synchronizer. So how do we know that? We know, see, how you notice I am connecting to port number 8084, and what is port number 8084? Port number 8084 is event synchronizer. So it is creating a link with this particular port number and calling the send data on this particular service. And so let us look at event synchronizer, what it does internally. So if I look at event synchronizer, this is the service. So if you notice, this event was called, right, sync, and if you notice, what is the service is the root path is event. So that's what happened in send event. It tried to connect to this particular path, event and sync, and event synchronizer was, this particular path was called event, and where is the send, yeah, sync. So this particular path was called, and what happened over there, it tried to sync the event, which means save the event to event synchronizer. So the moment an event was fired from here, the first thing event synchronizer did is take that event and sync it with its database. It means it saved it to its database, and after that what it did, it called broadcast event and passed the same event data. And in the broadcast event, what happens? In the broadcast event, I am saying event, I am broadcasting to account over here. Now if I wanted to broadcast it to port number 83, which is money transfer, I will have to repeat this code twice, right? I can I can write this code over here. So this will become money transfer, and this is going to run on port number 83, and this is, then I don't need to, right? So I'm broadcasting on port number 83 and in the same way I can broadcast it to customer also. So in case of customer, it is running on port number 81. So it is as simple as this, the broadcasting. So I've created my design in such a way where I can reuse this object. I don't have to write the code for separate services. I don't have to write broadcast event every time I'm creating a new service. I create a common object called event client, which internally I'm going to use the common code to send the event, sync the event, and broadcast the event. So right now I'm going to comment this out because this is not tested. This is something that you can complete, test it, make sure everything works and the events are seen in the websites. So I'm going to leave this code here, right? So this is how this entire architecture works. We have different services and you have a microservices architecture also in play. But how do we we need to have design diagrams. So let us look at the design diagrams now. It is inside the others folder in design. So I am using a software called DIA. See this? So let me open DIA. This is a free software to create diagrams. In this it is a little difficult to use this tool, but it is free. So let me open my diagram. So here there is a diagram, customer execute query. So how does so can I view full screen? Can I zoom it a bit? So this is if you have done sequence diagram, then this is how the sequence diagram looks like. So there is a website over here. So how does the customer execute query work? Now if you notice, we are running 4 queries from the customer website: select query, insert query, update query and delete query, depending on what button the user has clicked on the website. But for all the 4 I am ultimately calling execute query. Only the query is changing but the link is same. So it calls this link and then it reaches _bank API gateway.js. This is a JavaScript code written in Angular. This internally will call will try to connect to this service, customer svc customer.java, which is running on localhost 8081. It will try to call execute query over here on this particular service. And what does this service do? Then this service internally will call the execute query on DBSQL object, JDatabase.DBSQL, right? And what does DBSQL do? DBSQL will, if database is equal to 0, then it will read which file, dbconfig_customer.json, and call the database in the end. And then what happens? Then it will read the information from T customer. If it is select query, if it will update, or it may if the query is update query, then it will update. If it is delete query, it will delete, and if it is insert query, it will insert. Once it has done that, it returns the result, whatever information. If you have selected any query, it will return back the query result to what? This line. What is this line? This is a website. If you notice on top, this is a website. It comes back to the website, and that is how this entire sequence diagram is working. And inside the website, what happens? Internally it calls a Angular ng repeat. It uses ng repeat tool to loop through all the records and show you. So this is how, and since it is working inside the website itself, we are this arrow is going back to itself. So this is how your customer execute query diagram, sequence diagram has been depicted. You need to create a similar diagram for account execute query and for money transfer execute query. Now let us look at the second diagram, class diagram. In this class diagram, I have showed you what all classes have been created. So we have created a package called JDatabase. Within that there is a class called DBSQL, and within that there is a method called execute query. In the same way, we have created one common object which the package is JEvent, and the class is JEvent client, and there are 3 functions in this: send event, sync event and broadcast event. What does the SVC customer S service has? Customer S service has SVC customer class, within which there is one important method called execute query. This is calling the DB-SQL as well as it is calling event client. It is using both these classes. So but here we are more concerned about showing all the classes. Just like this class has been created, you can create you need to create similarly all the other classes which is missing in the diagram. So for example, there are at least 3 other services which is running, so you need to create that. So this is the, you see there's an icon UML. If you drop down this flowchart assorted, so you click UML and you click the class, and once you click the class you can put the class name. So let's say SVC account, right? And what are the operations in that? So create an operation means method, and what is the new method? Execute query. In this also there is an execute query, right? And this service, this class is running as part of what? It is running as part of account REST service, which is part of this package actually. So let us create a package. So I want to create a bigger package, right? Yep. So this is a package within, and this package let us create a text. Where is the text? Yeah, it takes some time to use this tool. So this is account REST service package, right? And within this I can see my object is behind, right? So can I send? No, I don't want to create this text. I want to simply write. I think I can use this, right? Text. So account REST service, this should be okay. Then I will say this send back to select objects, send backwards. Yeah, so send backwards works. And then I shift this and I shift this. So you see how I am creating a class diagram. So you can use your class diagram to show all the classes and packages that is been used in your application. In the same way, you should draw the sequence diagram to show me how everything is flowing, what is calling what. Now if you notice, I am also calling event, right? I'm calling I called whenever anybody is calling, it is not only calling the execute query, but it is also calling the event. So if I wanted to modify that, I will it is calling from where? From this particular what is this service, right? From the service I'm calling the event. So how do I extend this functionality? I can extend this, right? And shift so I'm trying this for the first time. I'm going to shift this down. See, when we are diagram is little difficult to use these diagrams, this tool, because so I can say I can create another how do I create another of this? No, see, it's not, doesn't become big. But I definitely need to add a transition over here, which is this, right, and expand it, get this say it's bring this down and mark this, and this will be, what will be this? This is an event synchronizer, right? So it will be J event, not J event, it will be event sync object. No, it will be right, event sync. Before event sync we use the object which is J event client. So we create another transition. So I'm just showing you how to draw, the sequence diagram. You need to create the sequence diagram in the same way, because otherwise how will others understand how things are working? You need to explain them, right? So this is you need to know how to draw the sequence diagram, and this will be J event package, and within this there's a class called J event client dot Java. You take this object and connect it, right? And you can set the background if you want. Right click, properties, fill color, this one, right? Right, now I'm going to just minimize the diagram just so that it becomes easier for you to understand all the objects you can see all together. Maybe expand a little bit, right? So customer service is calling execute query, but once it executes the query it is also creating an event, right? So what we are going to do, we are will use the connector and connect it from here. I chose the wrong object, this fellow, right? Transition, is it transition? Text color, it doesn't let you, I think I've not selected the right object. Yeah, it's a message, not this. So message means as good as calling a function. So it calls from here over here. And what is the message? The message is so let me create this. Send event, right? This fellow is calling send event function to JEvent client. So that is your JEvent client. Then what does JEvent client do? JEvent client will the objects are not very intelligent to know what I'm doing, but it was free, so I had to use only this tool. I just need to drag this down. Yeah, this is what I want. Right, this internally passes the message to event synchronizer with the same name. Send event. Right, then what does, so this here now we have the event synchronizer. What does event synchronizer do after sending? Once somebody sends an event, it does two steps, right? What are the two steps? It will I need an arc. Where's the arc? Here, here's the arc. So it calls two functions. One, so let me, is this the arc? Yeah, but no, this is something else, I think. Where did I get the arc from? I got this arc from somewhere, no? Is it in where it is, I don't know, but let me copy the arc anyways, since I'm not finding that, and let me save this before I lose. Right, so I'm going to paste it here. Take this object. After on the event synchronizer, when somebody calls a send event, it will call two functions. So the way I'm representing this is right now by using self calling functions. Means a function within the same class, which is this function. The first function that is called is sync event. Right, and the second function that is called is broadcast event. Right, now what happens when somebody calls a send event and broadcast event is you draw a separate sequence diagram for that. When anybody calls an event sync or broadcast event, what happens in broadcast event? The event is sent to customer to all other microservices, and in sync event the event is saved in the local database. In this case it is saved in DB event sync database. So this is how you should draw all the diagrams and show me how you have implemented the queries, the event, everything. right? Once you do that, you export this in the form of PNG, so that you can embed it in your Word file or something and send it to me. Right, in the same way I'm going to export class diagram as in PNG format. Right. So this is about drawing class diagrams, sequence diagrams. So you should whenever you're creating systems or whenever you're writing code, your design should also be done also apart from coding. You cannot simply code and expect people to understand what you have written, right? The design is very important to understand how things are working, and somebody can then give you some review or some suggestions based on your design. So far I have shown you 3 diagrams. One is the class diagram, one is the sequence diagram, and another one is your high level architecture diagram, which is this one. So let me close this now. And so some of the things that have been added is I have added in my bank database in SQL script. If you notice, I have modified the 3 databases so that we can use event synchronizer. So let us see what is happening. Let us see first event synchronizer database, what all is there in this. In this I am creating a table called T events, in which there is an event ID, event source means where it is coming from, destination means where to whom I need to send it. So this works in the same way that our networks works. Our networks always have a source IP address and a destination IP address. In the same way, events will have an event source and event destination. Event data is where the query is embedded in the JSON format. So if you notice, this field is of type JSON in MySQL, and this is the status. So initially it is 0, and once you have processed it, it should become 1. But I am not doing that step, but this field is for that purpose. Event direction means whether the data is moving out of my service or whether it is coming from inside my service. So if I am receiving the data, that means the direction will be inwards, and if I am sending out the data, the direction will be outward. So that is depicted as 0, 1, and the different so you can see over here, 0 means what, and -1 means what, and 2 means what, so everything is mentioned over here, what these different numbers mean. So now this T events table is used everywhere actually. So if I can I draw the database diagram in this? I don't know. Usually we UML, not the database object is there. Let's see, flowchart. Okay, so let me use this object database. So we have 3 databases, right? We have database 1. Sorry, we have actually 4 databases. So this database is we call it as what is DB customer, right? So in this so we have 4 databases. Right, Then let me copy this again. And so this will be DB. Oh, I have to go to tools, modify, edit text. This will be DB account. Tools, edit text, and this will be DB money transfer, and this will be DB event sync. So I had to create this design, so I'm able to create this design very fast because I'm used to this. So in this, what all tables were there? In this there was a table called T events, which we just saw, right? This table has source, then you can specify. So T event has got source field, then destination field and data field and so forth, right? Status field, direction field, etc. In the same way, this DB customer, we already saw T customer, and now I have introduced another table called T events, which is the structure is the same as DB event sync. In this I will have T accounts. Now this is how I have created my system. If you have done it in a different way, that's fine, but it should do some, the same thing, So I will need to see how the synchronizer is communicating between your different web services or REST services. This will be T money transfer. Now some of these components I have not created as yet. That is something left to you, right? So what is happening now? What is the common between all these 4 databases? T events. And who is coordinating all that? It is coordinated by which service? So let me see if I can borrow this class. It is managed by this package, right? Which package? Event synchronizer package, which we have named it as J event, right? That is a package name. Inside this package there are 3 functions, right? Can't edit from here. I need to say tools, modify. In this I have 3 functions. One function is send event, sync event, and broadcast event. So I'm using T event client everywhere actually. So you can say there's a small class object called T TJ event client, which also has 3 functions. send event, and sync event. Sync event will save the event in the local database. Send event will send the event to say event synchronizer, and broadcast event will broadcast. Right now synchronizer is the only object that is broadcasting, so we apply and we say OK. So now we can drag this down to give some space. So the event synchronizer is in over here. Now this object is used actually everywhere. So let me copy this object. This fellow is actually connecting to its own databases, through using the DB-SQL object. But DB-SQL, I'm not showing it over here in this diagram. This is just to show you the flow. So you need to practice drawing diagrams. Okay, this is very important, so that you understand how as you keep drawing diagrams, you yourself start thinking how things are working, and it is easier to show it to anybody at the same time. And simply we can show the connection messages are getting passed from here to here, and then messages passed from here to here. Then message means function calls. Okay, and in the same way this fellow is broadcasting to everyone, right? So let us show that also. So let us show with this. If the other two are sending the event, it will be broadcasted to customer. In this case only the customer is sending the event, so we are broadcasting to account, but it should broadcast to account as well as money transfer. So I'm using these tools myself for the first time. So it takes time to understand how things are working, right? So this is broadcast 1, 2, and 3. Can I give it a different color, line color? Let's say it's red, right? And can I modify, constrain? No, what is this? Something other. It's not a, I don't know what that constraint means. So you have to learn to draw diagrams also. So let me save this diagram though. Save as. Oh, I have to open. Save it in others, design, and I can say this is my database diagram. So download this tool Dia and create open this diagram in this tool. I will share this file with you. Why it's not saving? Okay, so it has saved, and let me export this in PNG format. Okay, so that is done. And so this is how so let me show you the queries. I told you that I'm modified the queries, how I'm creating the tables. My bank database and my, so let me in fact run all the scripts. So these are the three scripts, right? So I said in event sync what all tables are there. There is T events. So this is the table, and in customer there should be two tables. So this is customer, so there's T customer, and if you scroll down, I am creating one more table called T events. This is to manage the microservices. If anybody is sending the event to customer, the event is saved in this particular table. So let me run these queries on the scripts in Workbench just to show how things. So ideally when you are building any software, architecture is very important, and it has to contain all the pieces, the front end pieces, the back end pieces, the middle tier pieces. So let me connect to the database. Right, so I have these three files over here. Create customer database is the same file. I simply run it by clicking this, and if you notice, everything is getting created over here. Let me create the account database. So when you create the database, it is going to delete all your data. Okay, so whatever old data is there is going to get deleted, because I'm dropping the database on top. If you notice, I'm dropping it. Dropping means delete. And I can verify the data. Now I'm going to see in event sync, there should be select star from T events. This table should be there, right? And in the same way I can fire a query over here. So let me run all these three queries against three different databases. So if you notice, T events 1 points to T event sync. So in T event sync there is one dummy record I have created just to see whether it works. And in DB customer is T events 2. There is no record as of now, but if in our example we are not syncing any event in customer, we are syncing our event in account. So the third table, which is this, is right now it is empty, but if you create any records on customer, T account table is going to sync the event into its own databases. So this is how this entire assignment works, right? So let me open the diagram. Now if you want to quickly, so you need to know how to compile all this. Okay, so if you want to know what all commands I have used, it is for database, it is there in test J database, right? For example, if you open this in so let me close these files first. So you see, you need to know and learn so many things constantly, because there are so many things out there, right? Your tools can change. So you see, all commands, I'm jarring the file, I'm installing it in Maven repository, and then I'm testing it also. So if I run this batch file, all these commands will be executed one by one, and you can test it yourself by either by running the batch file or running, I would suggest you take one query and test it yourself to see whether it works or not. So let me close all the command from Windows first, just to show you how to compile, and let me open a new window. So first let me show you how bank database is compiled, how I am doing it. I have made it easier for me. So I'm saying in my bank database I just say my test J database and it will do everything for me. You see that? So I need to wait while it does everything. So this is done, it has stored, it was compiled, it has created a jar file and it is stored in the Maven repository. This is the common component which we spoke about, right? Now in the same way, so let me close this again. I can open my common component event client. In this also I have test J event client batch file, so I can go to that folder. Okay, and I can say test J event client batch file, and it is going to compile my event client, create a jar file and store it in Maven repository. And it is compiled and now it is installing J event client jar file in the Maven repository. So many windows will be open as things are working. So all this has worked. If you notice, if you look at each window, you can look if there was any error, and the title is going to tell you what it is. And if you notice, I've tested this event client and it is calling a function which is returning this string. So this basically I need to test my component separately before I use it. So let me close all this, and that is how event client is batch file is there. And for Jersey, now what I've done is I've made sure I can compile database, event client and all the services from one place, and that is this file. This file will call all the other batch files and make sure all the commands are running. So this makes it easier for me to compile everything in one go. So let me open a command prompt. And I can say test SOA project. This is a batch file. So it will take some time because it is running through so many batch files. If you notice, it has first started J database and it is installing. Now it is starting J event client. It is compiling, creating jar and storing it in the Maven repository. Now so this is installing it in the Maven. Now it is compiling my services. It is compiling event sync REST service. Now it is compiling account service. So you need to wait for all the process, not if you close any window, the process will that particular process will not there's an error. There's an error here also in the compilation. Account service is throwing an error, and so customer, there was no issues. What was the error? Class not found. Which class was not found? My bank.main customer not found. It is there in POM file. This was a customer service, it threw an error. Account service also gave the same error. So let me close everything. I don't know what happened. And source main Java is there. So what was the problem? I don't know. Every time I am almost reaching the end, I'll end up in some new error, which things are working and then one silly thing must be not working. Then is anything else running? I don't know. So let me just close everything else. Let me close this. Let me close my pages. Now I'm okay. Now let me just see if must be some small error, but things should work according to me. We did compile customer and we ran that website, right? So this is compiling okay. Event client is working fine, database is working fine. When it comes to services, there is a compilation error. This fellow threw an error right earlier. Oh, it has worked this time. Cannot find symbol. Which symbol? I modified some code, right? When you modify the code, sync event, I think because event sync failed, all the other services failed. Event sync service failed. Package event does not exist. So I'll have to look into this error. Hold on. Okay, so let's try again. So I have not done any changes. So what is happening is my computer is slow for some reason. I do not know why. So and one component is dependent on another component. The services are dependent on JDatabase and JEvent client. If JEvent client is not registered before the service is compiled, then I think that is what happened. But let me try again now. So I think it's just a matter of timing issues. If object B is dependent on object A, then object A has to be compiled and registered in the Maven repository before object B is compiled. So let us see, hopefully it will work now. So it is compiling JDatabase now. See, things are moving very fast, and now if you notice, event client is not yet okay. Now it has compiled, it has registered, and now it is installing the event client. Oh, see, the event sync is just coming up before the jar file is even registered. I think there is going to be an error now. It is not registered as yet. No. Okay, so it's just a matter of timing issue. Seems like this is works. You see, the event sync has worked, which means the event client object was registered. Now it is going to run the event sync, so it should run because it has compiled. So is it running? It is trying to start the customer service also. My event sync is running on port number 84. Customer service is running on port number 81. And where is my account service? Account service is running on port number 82. So all my services are running, and if I test my services now, :881 / mybank.html, this should work. Everything is working here, and in the same way my port number 8082 is also working, so this should also be running now. And port number 8083 is something that you need to create yourself as a part of this assignment. So you can use all my code. I have done 65% of the code. You can complete the rest 35%. Make sure all design documents are created and embedded in a Word file, and you need to give me a demo as a team. So the person who is not a leader should be giving the demo, not the person who is leading the team. So the person who is not leading the team, a team member should be giving the demo to all the team members in the team as well as to me, to understand, you know, to gain your points or marks. So this is all for today, and we have let me close all the windows. You can simply right click here and say close all windows, and it will close. So this is all for today, and so please complete your assignments, which contains all this design and you know, your coding and your testing and demo. Okay, so that's all, and let me stop with this. Thank you.